श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। हरि ओम। ज्योतिः चरणाभिधानात् ज्योतिः चरणाभिधानात्। So for this sutra, the vichara vakyam, this statement that needs to be analyzed is this: Athaya dataha paraha divaha jyotirdipyate vishvatah pristheshu sarvatah pristheshu anuttameshu uttameshu lokeshu idam vava tat yad idam asminnantah purushe jyotiriti. There is a vakya coming from Chandogya Upanishad. Now this word Jyoti is used, meaning the light above heaven, Edataha paraha divaha, the light that shines, Vishvatah pristheshu, that which exists above all, Sarvatah pristheshu, that which exists above the universe and above all, Sarvatah pristheshu, anuttameshu, uttameshu, lokeshu, idam vava tadidam asmi. And not only it is above everything, it is in all of them. It is in them and yet above them. And that light that is above heaven, that is above the universe and above time, above space, above everything, and yet it is there in all the anuttameshu, uttameshu. Anuttameshu means in all the things that are high and low, which are there in all the things in high and low. That light, tadedam asminantah purushe jyoti, is the light in man, is the light in the jiva. The light above heaven, the light above the universe, the light above everything, the light that is there in all and above all, is the light in man. Now regarding this sentence, there is a doubt. The doubt is this light physical light or is it Brahman? Purvapakshi says physical light. Why can't we take it to be physical light? Because it is easy to understand. When we hear the word light, what comes to our mind effortlessly is physical light. And then Siddhanti says, no. And it cannot be Brahman. Let me complete Purvapaksha. Purvapakshi says it can't be Brahman. Why? Brahman is all pervasive. How can it be just above heaven? So the heaven becomes the Maryada, a boundary. Physical lights have boundaries. Physical lights have boundaries, thus far no further. That's called a boundary. The light exists only thus far no further. Thus far no further is what is called a boundary. A candle light has certain its own sphere. Beyond that it doesn't exist. The sun also has its own sphere, but it doesn't exist beyond. It doesn't light up the universe. One doesn't have to travel into the outer space to find out whether this sunlight goes all over or it is limited. I can tell you it is limited without going in a Columbia spaceship. You can understand the limitation of the sun. Therefore, all the money that you are going to spend on it, you give it to me. I can prove its limitation right here, ji. Why? Whatever money you are going to spend on spaceship, अभी हम आपको समझाएंगे. Does the sunlight light up the sound? No. So that means its boundary has a limitation. It has a boundary. Does the sunlight illumine the taste? No. Does it illumine the smell? No. That means what? The illumining capacity of the sun is limited. The illumining capacity of the sun is limited. Even if it lights up the forms of the entire creation, still it is limited. Even if the sun illumines all the forms without any exception that are there in God's creation, even then it is limited because it doesn't illumine sounds. It doesn't light up tastes and touches and smells. It doesn't light up my memories. It doesn't light up my thoughts. It doesn't light up my dream. It doesn't light up my sleep, ji. Therefore, what looks to be mighty sun has its limitations. When the sun understands that, that is called humility. Humility is understanding one's factual limitations. As individuals, we have limitations. Therefore, our attitudes we can always be aware of our limitations. The awareness of our limitations will shape humility. I don't have to shape the attitude of humility. Humility apne aap gets shaped. Okay, ji, understand. Purva Pakshi says, sir, the sun, its illumining capacity has a boundary. It doesn't go into the sound, taste, touch, smell. But he says, if it is Brahman being all pervasive, it should illumine here and above the heaven. But here the light that is mentioned is, it is there, it shines above the heaven. If it shines above the heaven, it must be a physical light. Why? A conscious light must shine everywhere. You have to capture this point. The conscious being, the Brahman, should shine everywhere. But here this light shines only above heaven. Therefore the light above heaven cannot be a conscious light. It has to be physical light. Who says this? Purva Pakshi. Purva Pakshi says. Similarly, another logic, another argument given by another form of logic, call it, or another form of reasoning that the Purva Pakshi gives is, Brahmasya charachara bijasya brahmanaha sarvatmakasya Dyaur maryada yukta karyasya tu jyotishaha parichinnasya dyauho maryada syat paro divaha jyotihi ticha brahmanam nanuka. And now, this jyotihi deepyate is there. Grammatical deepyate. The light above heaven that burns itself, shines. Shines. Shining is a process. As we understand, shining is a process. Like a candle burns itself, it burns itself. That is called shining. It's burning. The sun is shining, it's a process. Every physical light is a process. We can't say it is burning. Deepyate, this particular verb is given here. Ayatha yadataha paro divaha jyotihi deepyate. Deepyate is given. Brahman doesn't really burn itself. Brahman, it is the nature of Brahman to be conscious without having any process, as according to you. Here Siddhanti. Whereas this sentence describes the light as something that is ever shining. That means this is a burning light. It is a shine that is in the form of a process. So it has to be physical light. It can't be a conscious. Conscious light is never described as a process. To be aware is not a process, it's a very big thing. If you are aware of something, it's not a process. It's not a process, it is there. It's nature. Consciousness is not brought about in us. Consciousness is not brought about in us. Consciousness is our nature. What is brought about is thinking. And what disappears is thinking. When the thinking disappears, we think that consciousness disappears. A great Maya ji. That's why Bhagavan says, Mayam tu prakritim vidyat mayanam tu maheshwaram mama maya pratyaya. Bhagavan says, Mera Maya. भगवान भी बहुत चालाक है. भगवान कहते हैं you can't cross my Maya. लेकिन if you are devoted to me, then he will. See, first he will frighten you. He was first frightened. मेरा माया को क्रॉस करना आपका बस का नहीं. तो फिर मैं क्या करूं भगवान? हमारे प्रति हमारा पूजा पाठ करो, भगवान के प्रति भक्ति रखो, वो अपने आप हो जाएंगे. तब ठीक है. Yes. When the thought comes, we think awareness comes. When thought is born, one thinks, I am born. Yes. When the total thought is gone, I don't feel myself. I think I am gone. I go into an oblivion. I go into some kind of oblivion. When the mind comes, I come. When the mind is gone, I am gone. In other words, when the mind comes, awareness comes. When the mind is gone, awareness is gone. In this manner, when the mind comes, I come. When the mind is gone, I am gone. This kind of confusion comes. Therefore, there is a fear of death. Once we understand, once we believe, or once we conclude that our existence is a process, then there is a fear of that process coming to an end. Any process is subject to stop. Any process is subject to stop. And that much of common sense human beings have. He has got enough intelligence to make conclusions and also to understand, which understanding can cause him fear. My conclusion is that my existence is a process. I am eating, I am drinking. It's in a process. My biology is a process. Physiology is a process. Thinking is a process. So as long as this process is on, I am there. When the process stops, I am gone. So the fear. And he knows this much of common sense every human being has. I think every living being has. Some have it as intelligence, some have it as instinct. Animals have it as an instinct. Instinct means they're just guided by that some instinct inside. Whereas human beings can think and think and think and think and think and conclude and and then ultimately mean only that instinct. Nothing more. They also have the fear. Without great thinking, animals have the fear of death. With great thinking and reasoning and etc., man also has the fear of death. Therefore, we are no better than. Fundamentally, there is no difference between one living being and another living. It's not possible. It is not logically right to say. Difference can only be in looks and little few thoughts. Even really, we don't have to go to the to the bottom of existence. Even somewhere on the way you can see the commonality. Like hunger is not the very bottom of our existence. It's not the very foundation of our existence. Hunger is common. All living beings, you cannot differentiate. The gradation comes to an end. Therefore, the more you think really, the more you zero in on oneness. Pakka. But anyway, this process, I was talking about this process. Our whole life is looked upon as a process. And once I conclude my existence is a process, then I have the fear that that process may stop and I am gone. There the scripture comes and says, in order to beat your sense of insecurity, you have to understand the body is a process. Yes, I will accept. Physiology is a process. Biology is a process. Mind is a process. Thinking is a process. It just happens. That's called a process. It keeps happening in time. It's something that's becoming, constantly becoming something. Something becomes something else, and something else becomes something else, and something else becomes something else. Like this, it goes on. This is what is called a process. It is okay, sir, to say that this is all a process, but the fact that you are aware of the process, that awareness is not a process. If awareness also were a process, it would be logically a contradiction. The witness of the process and the process, between them one should be independent. If both are a process, then we have to think of somebody else, the third, as the witness. You can't have both the observer and the observed as a process. If you think, you can't even really attest, you can't even find an example for that. It's not a seen thing that the seer also changes. Things change, but the one who sees doesn't change. Views change, but not the sight. My view of an object may change, but that I am aware of it, that doesn't change. That I am aware of it. And sometimes when the object is not there also, that also falls within our experience. Therefore, according to the Purvapakshi here, the light above heaven, according to him, being a process, and he concludes the light that the Chandogya Upanishad is talking is only a physical light because it is in the form of a process. Consciousness cannot be a process. It is not the intention of the doubter. It doesn't mean at all that he accepts an eternal consciousness. If you think that there is some eternal consciousness, I would say that eternal consciousness cannot be a process. The eternal cannot be a process. Therefore, hey Siddhanti, the light that the Vedanta is referring to as the light above heaven, the light above everything, the light above everything, the light above time, the light above, should be interpreted as spatially above. Spatially above means it has a boundary. It has a spatial boundary. Like this is above the table, let us say. That means it has a boundary. It has only thus far, no further. Up to a point there is table, and beyond that there is something called a case. Similarly, here the light, if it is there above heaven, then it has a boundary. And Shruti also says Deepyate, shining. And shining means really a process. It's a very beautiful analysis, Ji. There is a light which is a process, and that you are aware of that process is not a process. Yes. That the Siddhanti is going to say, I am saying it before, in advance, because of my impatience. हमको भी impatience होता है जी. So, say, जल्दी बता दो. The whole beauty of this analysis is to help the students to see the distinction between the process light, physical light, the physical light which is a process, and the truth which is. What is without being a process alone is forever. If anything is there in the form of a process comes to becoming, can come to an end. Being doesn't come to an end. It's amazing analysis they are doing. These people are great. We are unnecessarily wasting our time. Instead of looking into this and that, we should look into our scriptures. They tell something nice. Okay. Kauksheyasya jyotishaha prasiddham abrahmatvam tasyaiva drish. Okay, Ji, now this is over. In answer to this doubt, Siddhanti now begins. Siddhanti says, sir, the light that Vedanta refers to as the light above heaven, light above time, light above space, light above the mind, light above everything. It is in and through everything and yet above everything, cannot be physical light. It has to be conscious light. Why? Because it is said above everything is not spatially above. It is independent of it. What exists independent of time is called above time. What exists independent of space is called above space. Therefore, here the light is the light of the observer. The light, the observer. The light, the observer. The observer doesn't have the light. The observer is the light. Strike off all the prepositions in thinking. Is. Wave doesn't have water. Wave is water. It's much more right. But in order to, in our languages, we use profusely prepositions. The more you use prepositions, the more you are dividing things. But at least while studying Vedanta, don't use prepositions where they are not required. Wave doesn't have water. Wave doesn't belong to water. Wave is not a devotee of water. Wave is not created by water. Wave is water. That is the fact about it. Therefore here, similarly, the conscious being doesn't have truth, but it is. Doesn't have peace in it, it is peace. Doesn't have light, it is light. It doesn't have a quality, it is free from all attributes, means physical attributes. The word attribute, you cannot define the word attribute except in terms of physical attributes. What else other attributes do you have anyway? Qualities means what? The properties. Whenever we use the word property, the properties that we experience are only physical properties, biological properties and mental properties. And there is no property which is not imperfect anyway, which is not limited. Every color is limited, every taste, touch, smell, all physical properties are all just properties of objects which are limited. Biological properties are all limited. Thoughts are limited. So the limited properties. So the word property must be understood correctly. The attributes of the creation, the perceptible attributes of the creation, they are all limited. If they also exist in the observer, if they are an attribute of the observer, he would not be able to observe the attributes. The one who sees an attribute doesn't have any attribute. The one who is aware of form, he doesn't have a form. Number one, he should not have a form and he doesn't have a form. Logically speaking, he should not. If he has a form, form cannot see another form. Only the form free can see a form. The silent alone can hear the sound. The one who hears the sound, the one who registers the sound is by nature silent. He should be silent. It can't be otherwise. He should be silent. By nature he should be silent, and he is silent. That is obvious. And similar, therefore, Bhagavan says here, hey, the light that the Shruti is talking about is the light of your being. Is the light that is your being. Is the light that is your being. The conscious light. I have told this number of times. We are aware of the sun, the great light. It's a great body of light. I see the physical light, but the physical light is not aware of me. It can never be aware of my presence, the observer's presence. No. That is why this entire world, Bhashyakara Shankaracharya says, it is inert, means darkness. Means it is total darkness. It can never be aware. Whereas the one who is aware is the light. Okay, ji. Bhagavan says here, now let me continue. Jyotiriha brahmagrahyam kutaha charana vidhanat. You see, the doubter has given his logic why it should be taken as only physical light. He has given his arguments. You have heard them. If you have forgotten them, I can't do much about it. I can't do. Supposing you hear and you forget, what can I do about it? I can still remind you. But what? If you can forget once, then reminded again you can forget. May take a little time. After being reminded, you may take a little longer time to forget, but you will definitely forget. Therefore, in order not to forget, don't look upon Vedanta as information. It is all about yourself and you cannot be forgotten. Your presence cannot be forgotten. Try to forget your presence. Suddenly, oh, I forgot myself. I say, you forgot some particular duty. That is different. Suddenly, your existence has no blackout. You may forget an object. There can be so easily, within a second you can forget. You put your keys or something on the table, let me take a glass of water, let me keep this there, and then after taking a glass of water I'll pick it up and you will take a glass of water and you will, within a second. Therefore when you are still remembering, do it. If you are still remembering, do it, you just pick it up, otherwise it's gone. Forgetfulness is not only when a person gets dementia, even normal people can forget. Anyway, the doubter has given his arguments. Now the Siddhanti, the one, the teacher says very beautifully, sir, the light that we are talking about is the light that is the conscious being. Why? The first argument is to be above time, to be above space, to be above the universe. That above should not be interpreted as spatially above. Above space, how can it be spatially above space? I mean, that's absurd. How can something be spatially above space? Does the space have boundaries? Does space have, does the space have boundaries? नहीं है. Can you jump out of space? You find out even the 10 times world champion in long jump. Can he jump out of this space? No. Can Concorde just jump out of space? Just fly out of space? It is Purnam, it is complete. Even understanding what is completeness, I tell you, when you understand what is unlimitedness, you become still. That is really, because unlimitedness cannot be captured in a thought. That it cannot be thought is unlimited. Therefore, when you appreciate that it cannot be thought, then you become what? You become quiet. That is unlimitedness. That is unlimitedness. Therefore, when we say the light is above heaven, above time, above space, etc., should not be interpreted to mean spatially above. It means the light is independent of all these physical details. It is self-existent. It lends existence to them and itself doesn't borrow existence from them. They do not The conscious light and the universe do not depend on each other. One is an appearance, dependent appearance, the other is the independent being. What is the second argument? You see, it's like, let me make it little more clear. The Shruti says here, this light is in and through everything and above everything. Can the physical light fulfill that condition? Can the physical light, which is a process, can it fulfill this condition? To be inside everything and yet transcending everything. ऐसा तो नहीं होगा जी. Because the physical light doesn't light up the sounds. It can light up only the forms, not the sounds, tastes, touches, smells. Whereas here the conscious light can light up all the form, sound, taste, touch, smell, memories, everything falls within the sight of the observer. Therefore, on analysis, one can get an insight. One can get an insight that it is not a physical light, it is conscious light. We don't have a conscious light, we are that conscious light with a wrapping called the form. We are a truth with a form, a little wrapping. Bhagavan, gives it on contract to some people. Inko a wrapping bana do. So they do, and they all happen to be Indians. And they do it so clumsily, all wrappings. Clumsy wrappings. And therefore, don't judge yourself by your wrapping. No. सबसे बड़ा भूल होगा if you judge yourself by your appearance, your knee pains, by your disappearing, evaporating bank balance, forget. Don't judge yourself. They are all nothing. You are the great light, the truth. Come back to yourself, you own up everything. Yes. The only thing by which you can judge yourself is, so your existence, you are there, that is the truth. You cannot not be there. You cannot cease to be there. I can cease to think but not cease to be there. That's not possible. You can't experience. And without our own experience, there is no proof. I can experience the cessation, the stopping of my thoughts. I can't experience my own cessation. Meaning the observer cannot observe his own cessation, stop, disappearance. All these arguments can be reflected on. These are not arguments, these are all unfoldments about the truth. These are all unfoldments, these are all pointers to the truth about ourselves. They are not just arguments for argument's sake. Supposing I say I go on arguing. Hey, don't use your ears to see. Use your eyes to see the colors. And I go on arguing. It is not possible. Is it an argument? Or asserting a reality? Asserting a reality. Whenever we assert a reality, it sounds an argument, but it's not an argument. Because argument, the word has collected a lot of moss about it. It has a certain bad connotation. Don't be argumentative, etc., etc. Don't start an argument, etc., etc. It has sometimes arguments just they're triggered by ego. But here the context is not ego. Here it is understanding the truth, the scripture. Okay, the next. Charana vidhanat, the great argument, the reason. Vedavyasa says, sir, the light that is being talked about here is conscious light because charana vidhanat. Charana means pada. Truth has 4 padas. It has 4 feet. 4 feet. Truth has 4 feet. Ha, Swami? It has 4 feet. That means it's some animal which has got, but generally most of the animals have 4 feet. Feet is a very figurative word. Feet means 4 padas. Like 1 rupee coin has 4 padas. Like number 1 you write, mathematically speaking, 1, you write down on the board 1. It has 4 quarters. It is 1. It has, can you divide it into that 1 into 4 quarters? No. You can imagine 4 quarters. You can't divide. 1 can never be divided. 1 can only be divided into 4 kalpita, means imaginary, hypothetical. Like 1 apple is there, you cut it into 4 pieces. Only when you remember the 1 apple, you call it a quarter, but go by your perception and forget the memory. What is it? Each piece is 1, not 1/4. 1/4 is a conclusion based on the memory of the 1 apple. But you are not really doing remembering, you are seeing it. It is a perception. 1 apple is a perception, and the cut pieces are also perception. In perception, what is each piece? 1. In perception, it is 1. But in kalpana, therefore I would say in kalpana means in conclusion. 1/4 is a conclusion, 1 is a perception. Swamiji, it is very difficult for us to follow. You don't have to follow, but it is my duty to say this. If you refuse to follow, what can I do about it? You have to follow. If you can't follow, who can do what? 1/4 is a conclusion. So there is 1 rupee. In that there are chavani, 4 chavani hai na? 4 chavani. Means 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. This 1/4 is kalpana. I may conclude 4 quarters, but it always is 1. Understand this point very clearly. We can conclude 4 quarters in 1. We can visualize, but we can't experience. In terms of anubhava, it is always 1. Take time and think about it. 1 cannot be actually divided. 1 cannot be divided. Swamiji, 1 apple, it can be divided into 4. Yes, you can divide. After dividing, what do you see? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Each piece is 1. In perception it is 1. In conclusion, it is 1/4. I have to remember there was 1 apple and now it is cut. I have to think so much. Minus memory, it is one. One will always remain one. In the same manner, now extend it to our own existence. Very beautiful unfoldment. Charana Vidhanat. Let us extend it to our own existence. Me as a waker is 1/4 of myself. It is said. Me as a dreamer is another 1/4 of myself. And me as the source of both, me as the source of both is another 1/4. Me as free from the three is called 1/4, but otherwise it is one remaining one. I am perceiving 3/4 quarters. Like, I'll give you an example. If you don't understand it, don't think it, because it's not meant to be understood. आप लोगों को बस का नहीं है. If you can understand, you are great. If you are great, yes. Don't think you are an ordinary person if you are understanding what I am saying, Rama. If you can understand what I am saying, you are a big man. You can straight away go out to Sagar and have masala dosha with great joy. Just to congratulate yourself. Yes. Therefore, if you don't understand, don't feel surprised. If you understand, it's great. Celebrate. It's a matter for celebration. There is a rope, and you somehow or other manage to fail to recognize it as a rope. Because it is right in front of me, it is obvious. When I don't understand it, I misunderstand it. It happens to be a snake. Then I see it as a snake. Now, just stay here. I conclude it as snake, but it is rope. See the distinction between conclusion and experience. What I am experiencing is without thinking is the rope. What I am actually experiencing by senses is the rope. What I am concluding is snake. Now let us make 3 conclusions. Now I see it as a snake. Now I see it as a garland. Now I see it as a stick. So 3 conclusions let us. So that means the rope has 4 padas. 1/4 of it is a snake. 1/4 of it is looking snake. Another 1/4 of it is seen garland. Another 1/4 it is seen as a stick. Another 1/4 is itself, as though it is 1/4, but ever remaining one. It remaining one, it looks to have 4 quarters. Ever remaining one. Fact is one. Conclusions are 4. Let us say, let me change a little. Fact is 1, conclusions are 3. That very fact is the 4th. Are you able to follow? Rope is 1G. It is one fact. Itself looks the snake, itself looks the garland, itself looks a stick, and itself remains the rope. Therefore, Aram se sunna, therefore, in the same manner, we look, I see myself as a waker, I see myself as a dreamer, I see myself as a sleeper, ever remaining one. My conclusion, I am living my conclusion that I am this waking body, I am this dream body, I am ignorant, etc. There are basic conclusions are three. Ever remaining one. Because you cannot, that I am a waker is known to me, I am observing my own conclusion, I am observing my own conclusion. That I am a dreamer, that also I observe the dream conclusion, and I also observe the conclusion that in sleep I am ignorant, I don't know anything. I am trying to explain it in the simplest manner, which is not acceptable among the scholars. Because I am trying to put it in a simple way for you. That I am the observer remains the same. The observer is the fact. The conclusions are three. Why do you call it observer? Observer means it's not really observer by volition. Choiceless observer. Choiceless. Sakshi. Sakshadikshate. Therefore, this light cannot be physical light because this light is also described as having four padas. Let me read it for you. Aram se sunna. Avradidam charana vidanat pada vidanadityartaha purvasmin hi vakye chatushvat brahma nirdishtam tavanasya mahima tato jyayagamscha purusha padosya sarva bhutani tripadasya amritam divi ityanena mantrena. Tavanasya mahima, the glory of the truth is tato, the glory of the creation is unimaginable. But the glory of the source is greater than that. Baba. It's amazing, ji. You can't glorify the truth. How can you glorify silence, ji? Bada mushkil hai. It's like saying, you glorify all the best music and then say, more glorious than this greatest music is silence. Because silence facilitates the sound. Minus silence, in that manner, you glorify the universe and then say Bhagavan is more glorious than the creation. Tavanasya mahima tato jyayagamscha purusha padosya sarva bhutani. All living beings are just 1/4 of the truth. Padosya sarva bhutani. All waking individuals are just 1/4 of the truth. Meaning all individuals are only creations, not the actuality. Padosya sarva bhutani tripadasya amritam divi. 3/4 of the truth is invisible. 1/4 of the truth, the entire creation accounts for 1/4 of the truth. 1/4 of the truth, yes. 1/4 of the truth. The entire creation accounts for 1/4 of the truth, and 3/4 of the truth is not available for sense perception, though it is obvious. Meaning it is evident, it is behind the senses. 1/4 of the truth is in front of the senses. And 3/4 of the truth is behind the senses. I am doing my best to convey this. Otherwise, this kind of explanations, too much of simplification, the scholars would object. ये क्या बात कर रहे हैं? ये हमारा विद्यार्थी को बताना पड़ता है. And they will say, इतने ज़्यादा simplify कर रहे हैं. हाँ ठीक है. If it can be conveyed through simplification, कोई बात नहीं. क्या हो गया? Conveying is more important than being scholastic. Is it not? Somehow or other, conveying is more important than being scholastic. Yes, so bombastic. Who is interested? 1/4 of the truth is in front of the senses, and 3/4 of the truth is behind the senses. This whole creation is only a tip of an iceberg. Yes. If this is the description, does this description apply to logically? Can it apply to physical light? Does 3/4 of physical light is inside the senses? The whole of the physical light is in senses. Can we say 1/4 of the physical light is in front of the senses and 3/4 of the sun is in my heart? Inside the senses? सोचने के लिए भी डर लगती है. The fire, 1/4 of the whole fire is in front of the senses and 3/4 of the fire is inside. पहले ही मेरे को आग देखने से ही डर लगता है. And if you tell me to do this meditation, हमारा बस का नहीं. Clear जी? I have explained this. This sutra is 2 बार. Let us read. ज्योतिहि चरणाभिधानात्. So now I'll just put the gist of it. The Vakya that comes in Chandogya Shruti, in which the word Jyotihi Deepyate is given, that Vakya is not talking about physical light, it is only talking about the Brahman. Clear? Next sutra. Chando vidhanat na iti chenna na iti chenna na iti chenna tatha chetorpana nigadat tatha hi darshanam chando vidhanat neti chenna tatha chetorpana nigadat tatha hi darshanam. The next sutra, sometimes they say, we have a saying, never give up. Yes. Never give up once you know it is right. What you are doing is right. What is most difficult is to find out the right direction in life. And once you find the right direction, then don't give up. Not to give up is not a big problem. Not to. Perseverance is because we being the truth, we are all capable of perseverance. But we become wavering in life because I just don't know which is right. हमारा समस्या ये है. If you come to Vedanta, then on the way your friend says, कहाँ गए थे वेदांत? ये वेदांत क्यों कर रहे हैं आप? ये वेदांत करने की क्या जरूरत है? क्या मुसीबत आ रखी है घर में? वेदांत करना चाहते हैं. अब why do you want to become spiritual? You understand, गीता क्यों पढ़ने लगा? ऐसा कौन सी महाभारत आ गया? जीवन में जब महाभारत आता है तभी गीता की जरूरत होती है. आपके घर में क्या कौन सी महाभारत आ गई? Then you start immediately, that person happens to be your close friend. Maybe true. अरे मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? We just don't think independently, I am telling you. We are all the time wavering because we don't think. We come under the words of others, influence of others. कोई कुछ कहते हैं. Therefore, once you discover this is right, what is right cannot be made wrong, even if the whole world calls it wrong. Even if the whole world called, that king had no clothes, poor thing. King's new clothes? He had no clothes. And one joker said, wow, wonderful clothes. Another person. And then they announced, you see, this is the trick. Whoever is wise can see the clothes. The king's new clothes are visible only to a wise man. Therefore, when he comes out, without clothes, everybody says he doesn't want to be looked upon as unwise. He says, yes, I am saying clothes, I am saying clothes, I am saying clothes, I am saying clothes. This is the world, I am telling you. King's new clothes is a beautiful story to come out of our stupidities. Be independent. What is? Therefore, never give up once you have discovered the right direction in life. The right direction is in fact coming back to oneself. The right direction. Because the right direction is that which I unwittingly take after I am tired. When I have no refuge anywhere in the world, then I go back to myself. I go to sleep. When I am totally tired. Therefore, after fatigue, the direction I take unwittingly is the right direction. ये कुदरत की direction है. This is the direction to the truth. Therefore, the answer is our own being. There is no other answer. Therefore, don't give up the right thing. But the Purva-Pakshi doesn't give up his argumentation. Purva-Pakshi, he says, Swamiji said, don't give up, so I am not going to give up the argument. But the more you argue, the more you analyze, the more you doubt, it only creates more clarity. You see, truth is the only thing. The more you analyze it, the greater the clarity. All other objects, you become messed up. Become messed up. जितना ज़्यादा सोचेंगे ना चीज़ों के बारे में, उतना ज़्यादा chaos, उतना ज़्यादा क्लेश होता है. That is why it is always better not to think too much about. Supposing you go on thinking about an object. Even science, they are going into matter. I tell you, if truth is the topic, they will become all messed up. They will have to begin from the beginning. Yes, ये तो पक्का. You will have to begin from the beginning because the truth is behind the senses, not in front of the senses. You are probing into the object of senses, and then ultimately they all become so frustrated. I said, how? Because there is always a scientist who says, before the Big Bang, what was there? Before the Big Bang, what? The particles, कहाँ से आए? कहाँ से? Why did it happen only at that time? Nowadays it is not happening. Why? With those so many, see, that is why, there can always be for every argument which has missed the direction of the truth. If you are trying to speculate about the truth, excluding your existence, if you are speculating the truth, there can always be a better speculation than your speculation. And there can always be a better speculation than any speculation. Therefore, you cannot have the last word. Nobody can have the last word. Because even that last word is a speculation. And therefore, if I have to begin from the beginning, it is always better to begin from the beginning, having discovered the direction is wrong. But we don't want to, because that we depend upon it so much. The work that I have done is so much. But I tell you, it has done its job. It has served its purpose. Supposing you make money, ji, and then you make money, you make the house, and you make business, and then you have done a lot. And ultimately, your wife, like that Raja Bhartrihari was so fond of his wife. After this story we will go, ji, don't worry. don't be in a hurry, Swami. कब तक ये क्लास चलेगा? अभी जाएंगे जब हमको भी जाना है. आप ही नहीं. Bhartrihari was a great king. He said, some sadhu came and gave him a mango, nice mango. He said, such a beautiful mango, he is such a good king. I don't want to take it, let me present it to my king. And the king says, such a beautiful mango, I don't want to take it, let me present it to my wife. And the wife said, such a good mango, let me present it to my lover. Gives it to the general. General says, such a wonderful mango, I can't take, let me give it to my beloved, that's a maid servant, girlfriend. And that maid servant had great devotion to the king. He says, let me give it to the king. It comes back to the king. भगवान भी ऐसा करता है. इन लोगों को सबक सिखाने के लिए sometimes the events, understand, even events conspire against the evil. Don't think evil will have always its field day. World cannot conspire against the good, but the laws can conspire against the evil. Bring it to book. But anyway, then Bhartrihari said, "Ye kya hai? How did it come back?" He made investigation. Aapko kaun diya, aapko kaun diya, aapko kaun diya, aapko kaun diya. Then when he came to know the truth, he simply got up and walked out into the forest. Now you may ask a question. इतनी बड़ा राज्य बनाया, ये सारी किया, वो सारी किया, इससे फायदा क्या है? ऐसे it has given you vairagyam. Is it not enough? It has given you vairagyam. Is not the payoff? Is not the payoff valuable? Is not frustration something? If you get disillusioned by all that you have done, that disillusionment is called vairagyam. It is only when you get disillusioned about everything you come back to yourself. Yes. Therefore scientists, when they have done so much of work, it is useful for living processes. But if they want to find out the truth, they can never find out the truth by digging into matter. And if they have to begin from the beginning, but is it a loss? No. It has given them wisdom. What is it? Hey, truth is not in front of the senses, it is behind. The senses in the sense, behind means not spatially behind or anything. In a manner of talking. Therefore, no thinking can ever go waste. No correct thinking can go wrong. At least, even science cannot go wrong. But if you ultimately you get messed up, get frustrated. But sometimes with that frustration one dies. Then what is the use? Before death, if one gets vairagyam, it is useful. Okay? Purvapakshi now continues his argument in the next sutra. We will see that in the next class. It's a very beautiful argument regarding Gayatri. Purnamadaha Purnavidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सद्गुरु भगवान की जय, गंगा मैया की जय। हरिओम जी, हरिओम जी, हरिओम जी, हरिओम जी, हरिओम जी, हरिओम।